Welcome to the deep dive. If you're learning English and, you've ever wished you could just speak without that constant voice in your head translating everything, well, you're definitely in the right place.
Hmm.
Today, we're tackling how to actually think in English. It's all about unlocking a more fluent, more natural way of expressing yourself.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, we've been looking into what the experts recommend for, like, moving beyond just translating word for word and really building that English thinking habit.
Right.
Our goal today is to give you some practical, step-by-step strategies, things you can actually use.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you felt stuck in that translation loop, feeling like your English could be, I don't know, more automatic, this is for you.
Hmm.
We're going to explore some really interesting techniques. Everything from focusing on single words all the way to mentally playing out conversations.
And even like how choosing the right type of dictionary can make a surprising difference. It's not just about definitions.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And these aren't just theories, right? We'll be giving you concrete examples, actionable advice, stuff you can try out today, basically, to start shifting your mindset.
Okay, let's dive in then. Our sources suggest, maybe unsurprisingly, that a really fundamental first step is just starting to think in individual English words.
Yeah, it sounds simple, maybe too simple,
Yeah.
but it's presented as the foundation for everyone. Doesn't matter what your level is.
So the idea is creating a direct link between an object, say, and the English word for it.
Exactly. You're essentially bypassing the need to first think of it in your native language, like Spanish
Yeah.
in the examples we saw.
Right. So the advice is literally just start naming things around you in English.
Hmm. Your phone, the window, the shirt you're wearing right now,
Even those little everyday phrases, right? Like saying good morning mentally instead of buenos dias.
or good night instead of buenas noches. Just
Mm.
those small moments become like tiny mental workouts.
Okay. And the experts have some clever little tricks for this, apparently.
Yeah, a few neat ideas,
Hmm.
like setting your phone wallpaper to a simple reminder. Something like, think in English. Just seeing it constantly.
Oh, I like that. That visual nudge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how that could actually work. It's subtle.
Right. And then there's the idea of turning it into a bit of a game.
A game. How so?
Well, maybe give yourself a mental point every time you catch yourself thinking in English for, say, a few minutes.
Uh-huh.
And then maybe a little reward when you hit, I don't know, 10 points or something. Makes it feel less like homework, maybe.
Yeah, less like a chore. Okay. And what about notes around the house?
That was another one. Little sticky notes with relevant English words. Maybe in the kitchen with cooking words or in the bathroom with bathroom items.
So you create that direct link between the word and the actual place or activity.
Exactly. Very practical association.
Okay, so we're building these basic word connections. How do we then, expand that, move towards thinking in more complete English thoughts?
Well, the next logical step seems to be narrating your day. To yourself, obviously.
Narrating your day, so becoming your own internal English commentator.
Pretty much. Like that little voice in your head. But you consciously make it speak English.
Okay.
And you could do it in the first person, I'm making coffee. Or even, interestingly, the third person, she is choosing what to wear.
Huh. Third person, why is that helpful?
Well, it slightly distances you, maybe it makes it feel more like storytelling practice. But the main point is describing your actions, your feelings, what you see as it happens, but in English.
So it forces your brain to actually use English grammar and vocabulary in real time, not just recalling words.
Exactly. You're mimicking, in a small way, what native speakers do automatically, structuring thoughts directly in the language.
They gave that example, didn't they? Like, it's morning, she wakes up and rubs her eyes.
Yeah, preparing to face the day.
Yeah.
She yawns as she makes herself a cup of coffee and wonders what she should wear today.
It makes it feel very relatable, very doable. We all have those internal monologues.
The key thing is just verbalizing it, even silently in your head, but doing it in English consistently.
Okay, so naming things, narrating. Now, this next one sounds like something a lot of us probably do anyway. Inventing conversations in our heads.
Yeah, exactly. We all talk to ourselves sometimes,
Yeah.
right? The trick here is doing it deliberately and, crucially, in English.
So instead of just random thoughts, you're actually like staging little mental scenes, imagining dialogues.
Precisely. The sources suggested scenarios like, a job interview, or maybe asking someone for directions or asking what a new word means.
And the value there is practicing context, using vocabulary for a specific situation.
Absolutely. You get to practice the flow, the right phrases, even before you're actually in that situation.
They had that restaurant example, which is great.
Oh, yeah, the waiter conversation.
Waiter, hello and welcome. Do you know what you'll be ordering?
I'm not sure yet. What do you recommend?
Waiter, if you like seafood, our fish of the day is fantastic.
Great, I'll have that then.
Yeah.
It's such a common, practical exchange.
And the benefit of doing this mentally is what? Less pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can focus purely on the language, on getting your point across in English, without worrying about pronunciation or getting flustered talking to a real person.
Right. No fear factor.
And you can do it absolutely anywhere, waiting for the bus, doing chores, anytime, really.
And then presumably, once you feel a bit more confident with these imaginary chats,
Then you take the leap. Try it out with real people. It's like a practice ground, a safe space to build confidence before the real thing.
a stepping stone. Makes sense. Okay, but what happens when you're doing this, thinking in English, and you hit a word you just don't know? That blank moment.
Ah, yes. This is where creativity comes in, using the English you do have.
So the advice is, don't immediately jump back to Spanish to find the word.
Exactly. Resist that urge. Try to find another way to say it in English.
Okay, like the example they gave about losing your keys.
Yeah, that was a good one. Instead of just stopping because you don't know keys, you could say.
Like, I can't open my door because it's locked.
Or, I can't get into my house, I lost the thing. The thing you use to unlock the door.
Right. Circumlocution, is that the term? Talking around the word?
Precisely. You describe it, explain its function, use the vocabulary you do have, and it still communicates the meaning perfectly well.
And that skill is so useful in actual conversations, too, when you inevitably forget a word sometimes.
Absolutely invaluable. It
Yeah.
keeps the conversation flowing in English. It stops you breaking that mental flow and reverting back to translation mode.
It really forces you to think on your feet in English, which is the whole point, really.
Exactly.
Okay, so doing all this thinking is bound to highlight words we don't know. So how do we build our vocabulary in a way that actually supports this thinking in English goal?
Well, the key insight here is to engage with the new words within English itself.
Meaning,
Meaning, when you find an unfamiliar word, write it down, sure, but write down its definition in English, not the Spanish translation.
okay, so you're defining English words with other English words, keeping it all in the target language.
Yes, because if you define it in Spanish, you're still creating that bridge back, that reliance on translation. Keeping it all in English strengthens the direct connection.
That makes a lot of sense. And keeping a notebook or using an app.
Yeah, it makes it easy to jot them down whenever you encounter them, but just writing them isn't enough, right?
You have to use them.
You have to review them and actively try to use them in your thoughts, in your mental narrations, in those imaginary conversations. That's what makes them stick.
I like that specific technique mentioned. Pick, say, 5 new words in the morning, and then make a conscious effort to just weave them into your thoughts throughout the day. That feels very manageable.
It's a great active learning strategy. And they also mentioned some digital tools.
Yeah, like WordNick or dictionary apps like Dictionary and Vocabulary.
And the benefit of those is seeing words in real context,
Right.
in actual sentence, not just isolated definitions. Plus, you could often create your own word lists to study.
Which ties into the next big point about dictionaries. The type of dictionary. This seemed really important.
Yes, definitely a key recommendation for shifting your thinking. Use an English to English dictionary. Avoid the English to Spanish ones as much as possible.
And the logic is less translation, more immersion.
Exactly. Minimize the translation step. Force your brain, gently, to operate within English. Think about the meaning using English words you already know, or can figure out from the definition.
But what if the definition itself has words you don't know? That seems like it could be a roadblock.
It can be, initially. That's acknowledged. And that's why they suggest, especially at the beginning, maybe using dictionaries designed for learners.
Like children's dictionaries or specific learners' dictionaries.
Yeah, they mentioned vocabulary and the Merriam-Webster Learner's Dictionary specifically. The definitions in those tend to use simpler, more common words.
So it's like easing yourself into understanding English through English.
Precisely. It's a gradual training process for your brain.
And all of this really leads back to that core idea about consciously trying not to translate.
It's about actively breaking that habit. Staying in the English zone in your head as much as you can.
Because the more you do it.
The more automatic it becomes.
Yeah.
the faster and more fluent your thinking, and eventually your speaking will be.
It's like building a new mental pathway, right?
Yes,
Replacing the old translation route with a direct English one.
exactly. And the sources point out it doesn't just improve fluency, it also improves your kind of mental agility with the language.
Mhm.
Your brain gets better at processing English directly.
Now, this all sounds great, but it's not going to happen overnight, is it? We need realistic expectations.
Oh, absolutely not. Patience and consistency are key. The sources really emphasize this. It takes time.
Right.
You need to keep practicing these techniques, ideally every day, even if just for a little while. Progress comes from that consistent effort.
That's encouraging, though, knowing that it will come if you stick with it. It's easy to get discouraged if you don't see results immediately.
Definitely. So that daily practice, even small chunks of time dedicated to these exercises, that's what builds up over time and leads to real improvement.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of the how. Let's just circle back for a second to the why. Why is this whole thinking in English concept considered so crucial for really mastering the language?
Well, the biggest payoff is fluency. Plain and simple. Removing that mental translation step makes your communication way faster, much smoother.
You can react quicker in conversations, right? Not searching for the translation first.
Exactly. You're creating that direct pathway we talked about. From thought to English expression, no detour.
And it's not just speed, it's deeper understanding, too.
Yeah, it leads to a much better assimilation of the language overall. You start to get a feel for the natural rhythm, the flow, the nuances. It becomes less about rules and more about what sounds right.
Like how native speakers often just know the grammar is right without consciously thinking about the rule.
Precisely. Thinking in English helps you move towards that kind of intuitive feel for the language.
Plus, it's convenient practice.
Totally. It's private, it's free, you can do it anywhere, no pressure about making mistakes in front of people. It's your own personal language, Jim.
Your own mental workout zone. I like that.
And one final point they made was about relevance. When you think in English about your own life, your own activities.
You automatically focus on the vocabulary that's most useful to you.
Exactly. It helps you prioritize learning the words and phrases you actually need and use regularly. It becomes naturally personalized.
It all ties together quite nicely. And that final encouragement they offered.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After breaking it down into these steps, it does feel, well, more achievable. Less like some abstract concept.
Definitely. It's about making that conscious decision to shift your mindset and then consistently applying these techniques, little by little.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the main takeaways from this deep dive. We've looked at these practical steps, starting simple with individual words.
Narrating your day, becoming your own English commentator.
Mentally rehearsing conversations.
Getting creative when you don't know a word, talking around it.
Actively building your vocabulary in English using English definitions.
Switching to that English to English dictionary.
Making that conscious effort to avoid translation.
And, crucially, being patient and consistent with it all.
Right. And the big why behind all this is aiming for greater fluency, a deeper feel for the language, and just more natural, automatic communication, getting past that translation barrier.
Exactly.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Why not try just one of these techniques, like right after this? Pick one.
Yeah, just consciously try it. Maybe narrate the next thing you do, even just for a minute, in English in your head.
And just notice how it feels, how it shifts your engagement with English, even slightly. Then think about what could happen if you practice these things consistently.
Yeah.
How it could genuinely change your learning journey.
It's definitely a process, yeah. But every single step you take towards thinking directly in English is a step closer to that real fluency, that deeper connection.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into thinking in English. Really fascinating stuff.
It has been a pleasure exploring this. Some really practical ideas there.
Goodbye. Until our next deep dive, goodbye.